Autumn in Oregon always carried a stifling kind of gray. The fog clung to the ground like a burial shroud, swallowing every sound. Sarah Miller gripped the steering wheel as the windshield wipers of the old Ford squeaked across the glass. The GPS died again, Tom Harris said from the passenger seat, eyes fixed on his phone. There's not even a signal out here. Sarah, 28, was a freelance photographer who specialized in the forgotten corners of the world. Abandoned churches, desolate graveyards, and unloved old houses. Her Instagram, at Forgotten Frames, had 30,000 followers who loved the aesthetics of the uncanny. This weekend trip was meant to give them something new to obsess over. This is exactly the vibe, Sarah said, excitement bright in her eyes. You know what my followers want? Authentic creepiness. Places cut off from the world are perfect for that. Tom, 30 and a high school physics teacher, was the picture of rational skepticism. He rolled his eyes. Your followers just like watching you fake the spooky stuff. But hey, getting out of the city's noise is welcome. The car headlights finally picked out the destination. A lonely wooden cabin sitting deep in the woods. Shingles curled on the roof, windows were thick with dust, and the porch railing drooped. The whole house looked like it might collapse at any moment. This is it, Sarah read from the Airbnb listing. Built in 1897. The owner says it has rich history. Rich history is a polite way of saying falling apart, Tom muttered as he climbed out. When they stepped inside, a smell of mildew and rotten wood mixed with some oddly sweet, metallic tang. Wallpaper peeled in strips, cobwebs draped corners, and the fireplace held a bed of ancient ashes. Sarah lifted her camera. The shutter clicked loudly in the empty room. Perfect. This kind of decay is gold. Tom checked the utilities. The water heater works. Half the lights do. Hope you aren't afraid of the dark. People who are afraid of the dark don't come to places like this, Sarah laughed, but her gaze drifted up to the attic hatch. Is that the attic? Please tell me you aren't going up there, Tom said with a sigh. It's going to be full of bird droppings and mice. But Sarah already dragged over a ladder. When the hatch creaked open, cold air blew out like a breath, and something in the dark seemed to exhale with it. The attic was bigger than they'd expected. Under the slant of the roof were piles of broken furniture, tables with missing legs, moldy cartons, and faded books. What caught Sarah's attention was a mirror tucked into a corner. It stood about 5 feet high, framed in dark oak carved with strange symbols. Not English, not any script she recognized. The glass was webbed with cracks as if shattered and then patched back together. Deep grooves lined the frame like desperate fingernail marks. Dark red splotches stained the glass. When Sarah shone her flashlight on them, they took on a semi-translucent quality, like dried blood long since left to crust. Tom, you have to see this. Tom clambered up. Dust drifted in the flashlight beam. Holy, what is that? An antique mirror, Sarah said, adjusting her camera. And it has to have a story. Look at the cracks and the stains. Tom crouched closer. Maybe paint. Or red wine. Maybe some past renter had a Halloween party up here. In the attic? Sarah raised an eyebrow. They probably like the creepy aesthetic as much as you do, Tom shrugged. Come on, let me stand next to it for a photo. Sarah stepped back to frame the shot. The mirror looked even more sinister through the viewfinder. The fissures like scars and the stains like tears. Say cheese. The flash snapped. Sarah checked the photo and her stomach dropped. In the mirror's reflection, besides Tom's figure, there was a third silhouette, a blurred dark shape standing behind him. It had no discernible features, just a dense, viscous shadow, and Sarah felt, rather than saw, that it was staring straight at the lens. Tom, was there someone behind me when you took that? She asked, voice trembling. What? Who was there? Tom leaned in to look at the screen. Sarah zoomed in, but the shadow vanished. The photo only showed Tom and the cracked glass. I swear I saw, she began. Light trick, Tom patted her shoulder. A mirror that shattered like that will give you all kinds of optical illusions. Come downstairs, let's eat. I'm starving. Still, Sarah glanced once more at the mirror. In the wavering flashlight beam, the cracks seemed to writhe, like veins alive beneath glass. By 10 that night, the rain came down in sheets. The drops hammered the roof like bullets. The windows rattled in the wind. The cabin groaned as if in pain. Sarah and Tom sat by the fireplace with mugs of hot chocolate, trading college stories while the firelight threw jittering shadows on the walls. Remember the hamster you had in sophomore year? Tom laughed. When it died, you swore its ghost still ran on the wheel at night. I swear I heard it, Sarah protested. At 3 in the morning, squeak, squeak. Her voice cut off. There was a scratching sound. From inside the walls came a soft, deliberate scraping, like something crawling beneath the boards. Small on its own, it was crystalline in the hush of the night. Scratch, 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 purposeful and paced. Rats, Tom said, though he didn't sound convinced. The scratching grew closer, moving from the walls to the ceiling, then behind them. Sarah felt something tracking their position. Then the whisper started. At first it was like wind rustling dead leaves, indistinct and low. Slowly it became clearer, fragmented, overlapping, like many mouths speaking at once. I see you, I see you, I see you. Gooseflesh rose on Sarah's arms. Do you hear that? She whispered. Just the wind, Tom said, standing to check corners with a bravado that didn't reach his voice. Old houses creak and sigh. Bang. A heavy crash came from the attic like something large falling. They exchanged a look. Tom grabbed a flashlight. I'm going up. I'm coming, Sarah said, following close behind. The attic was eerily still. Their beams sliced across the dusty clutter, the same as before, except the mirror was on the floor, face down. Stranger still, the back of the mirror was densely covered in writing like Latin, a complex magic circle etched into the wood around it. How'd it fall? Sarah said hoarsely. Wind, structural shift. Tom started to answer, bending to lift it. Don't touch it. Sarah snapped. Why not? I can't explain. It just feels wrong. Tom already had a hand on the frame when the temperature plunged. Their breath fogged in the air. The reflection was wrong. Tom and Sarah stood in front of the mirror, but their reflections were frozen, their faces slack and puppet-like. Worse, both reflections were smiling. They weren't smiling. Damn, Tom stammered and edged back. What the hell is that? The figures in the mirror didn't move with them. The smiles widened as if pleased. Suddenly all the lights went out. The attic went black except for the wobbling cones of their flashlights. Sarah heard Tom's breath quicken, her own heart thudded, and laughter came from the glass. Low, rasping, malevolent. A sound like something clawing its way out of a grave. The beam swept the mirror. This time the glass didn't hold their reflections. It held a face. Pale and bloodless, the skin stretched tight over bones, eye sockets hollow as pits, the mouth gaping into darkness. The face leaned in as if to press itself against the glass, intent on crossing it. Run! Tom shouted. They scrambled for the ladder. Behind them, a sound of cracking glass, not shattering but fissures spreading, crack, crack, like ice underfoot. They tumbled down and slammed into the living room. Tom shoved the ladder aside and barricaded the hatch with a bookshelf and other furniture. Holy shit, he panted. What was that? Sarah slumped to the floor, trembling. She pulled out her phone to dial 911. The screen read, "No service." Footsteps came from above. Slow, heavy, measured, walking across the attic floorboards. Back to back, they sat with knives and a fireplace poker, and waited through a long, fearful night. Dawn came, and with it the rain's end. A sickly pale light seeped through the fog and into the cabin. Tom pushed himself up, rubbing his sore neck. "I'm going to wash up." "Don't go alone," Sarah warned, but he had already headed for the bathroom. Tom turned on the tap and splashed icy water over his face. When he looked up at the bathroom mirror, 3 long bright scars stretched from his left cheek down to his jaw, the skin split open and bleeding. The wounds looked torn as if clawed by something sharp. He touched his face, his fingers came away red. A burning pain flared. What? Worse, the wounds matched the marks he'd seen in the mirror, like whatever had reached through the glass had left its imprint on his real skin. "Sarah," he shouted, stumbling out. "Look at this." Sarah went pale at the sight of his blood. "Oh my God. How did you?" "I don't know." Tom's voice cracked. "I was just washing my face and then—" He looked like he might fall apart. Sarah pressed a napkin to the wounds with shaking hands. "We have to leave. Now." "Agreed," Tom said. "Pack up. We leave in 5. But when they looked for the car keys, they were gone. "Where did you put them?" Sarah demanded, rifling through her bag. "On the table," Tom said. "I swear I left them right there." They both looked toward the attic hatch. "No," Sarah whispered. "I'm not going up." "Then we'll walk," Tom said. "The nearest town is probably 20 miles. Before he could finish, every window slammed shut. Not by wind, each window latched itself with a click. The front door slammed closed and the deadbolt dropped into place. They were trapped. Sarah's phone lit up on its own and opened a web page. The Mirror Gospel of Elias Crow. The page was stark, black background with blood-red text. At the top sat a black and white portrait, an angular man in Victorian dress, gaunt-cheeked and hollow-eyed, lips set in a thin, cold line. Elias Crow, 1843 to 1897. Alchemist, occultist, founder of the Apostles of the Mirror sect. Crow believed mirrors were doorways to another realm, a parallel dimension made of reflections he called the mirror world. He held that each person had a counterpart there, a dark, repressed self. In October 1897, Crow performed a final ritual in the Oregon woods to open the gateway. The rite required a living mirror, glass sealed with the blood of 13 people, binding souls into the glass. On the night of the ritual, Crow's 12 followers went missing. Their bodies were never found, but a shattered mirror smeared with blood was discovered in Crow's cabin. Authorities concluded Crow murdered his followers and then killed himself. His body was never recovered either. Some said the mirror swallowed him, imprisoning him in the mirror world. Others said he succeeded and now roamed between the worlds hunting new sacrifices. Warning: anyone who looks into this mirror becomes marked. Your reflection becomes his host. He will infiltrate your world through reflections and consume your existence until you are dragged into the mirror world and become an eternal thrall. Phase 1. Whispers. You will hear the calls. Phase 2. Blood marks. Your body will show the mirror's wounds. Phase 3. Erosion. Your reflection will begin to act independently. Phase 4. Exchange. You are pulled through, the mirror entity walks free. Small print at the bottom. If you can read this page, it's already too late. The phone clattered to the floor. "This has to be a prank," Tom muttered. "Some creep or the owner did a marketing ploy." But he remembered the footsteps, the face, and the marks on his skin. Sarah picked up the phone. The screen had gone black and wouldn't respond no matter what she tried. "We have to destroy that mirror," she said, calm in a way that surprised her. "Now, before it gets worse." Tom hesitated, then nodded. "You're right. We don't have another choice." After an unknown period of time, the sky grew overcast once more. The cabin seemed dim and cramped. Tom found a sledgehammer and an old can of kerosene in the kitchen. The plan was simple: break the mirror, soak it in fuel, burn it to ash. "Ready?" he asked, gripping the hammer. Sarah tightened her jaw and adjusted her camera. An instinct to record everything that refused to die even now. They opened the hatch. The attic was unnaturally quiet. The mirror leaned where they'd left it, fissures webbed across its face and the dried blood darkened to brown. "Okay, on 3, Tom said, winding up. Sarah grabbed his arm. "Wait. What?" "Look, our reflections." Tom's blood ran cold. The people in the mirror were not mirroring their present actions. The mirror Tom stood straight, hands at his sides, and the mirror Sarah stood the same, both expressionless. And both were smiling. The smile had a wrong geometry. Mouths pulled at odd angles, teeth showing too much, eyes empty. "Enough." Tom roared and swung the hammer. The hammer struck. Time seemed to stop. There was no shattering. The hammer stopped an inch from the glass as though it had hit an invisible barrier. Tom pushed with all his weight, but the hammer wouldn't budge. The mirror Tom moved. He pressed a palm to the inner surface, meeting the hammer's handle from the other side. The mirror hand smiled and then its fingers slid through as if the glass were water. The glass flowed like liquid. Tom screamed as the mirror him pulled. The hammer wrenched from his grip and, with a sucking, viscous motion, pulled Tom forward. He was dragged into the glass, head, shoulders, torso, sucked into a cold, resistless surface. "Tom?" Sarah lunged for his legs. The mirror tug was relentless and she found herself pulled forward. Inside the mirror, a new world unfolded. It wasn't a mere reflection of the attic. It was a labyrinth made of mirrors, hallways of glass folding into themselves, rooms that led to more rooms, an infinite reflective maze. Tom struggled, but his movements were slow, as if underwater. Twisted shapes chased him. Figures with reversed limbs, half-bodies emerging from frames, faces melted into raw meat with wide, staring eyes. In a central chamber, a mirror showed Elias Crow himself. He looked centuries older than his portrait, skin like parchment, exposed veins visible. Beneath it, eyes that were empty black wells of rotating stars. When he opened his mouth, his voice scraped like nails on glass. "Welcome, my world, Sarah." Tom's voice was faint and far, full of panic. "Help me. Use fire. He hates fire." Crow pressed a hand to Tom's shoulder and the flesh went pale. The man began to change, to become part of the mirror room itself, assimilated into the endless glass. "No." Sarah grabbed the kerosene can and, instead of smashing the glass, started bashing the wooden frame. The carved oak cracked and the runes along it began to smolder with a green flame. The mirror world shuddered. Crow screamed and loosened his grip on Tom. Sarah poured out the kerosene. The yellow fluid seeped into the cracks and into the carved grooves. Tom, inside the mirror, was running toward the inner surface, reaching for them. "Grab me," he cried through the glass. Sarah could feel it, the chill when his hand met hers, cold and frighteningly real. Her fingers sank into the flowing surface to clasp his wrist. "Pull," she yelled. Sarah hauled with every ounce of strength. It felt like muscles tearing under strain. Piece by piece Tom's arm emerged, hand, forearm, then shoulder and head. His skin had a faint translucence, veins like thin silver threads running beneath the surface, as the mirror's transformation began to recede. "Don't let go," Sarah screamed. "Don't you dare let go." The glass clung to him like quicksand. From the other side, countless hands tried to wrench him back. Crow's face pressed to the inner surface, mouth opened in a silent scream. Sarah dug her heels into the floorboards, pulling until she could hardly breathe. She felt Tom's faint pulse. "Let go," she shouted at the mirror. "You won't take him." A crack tore through the frame. The carved runes flared green and then began to splinter. With a final wrench, Tom popped free and they collapsed in a heap on the attic floor. Tom gasped air. The weird translucency faded and color returned to his veins. But his eyes carried a thin alien hollow, like a scar left by the mirror world. "Quick," Use the kerosene, he croaked. It's recovering. Sarah flushed the remaining fuel across the mirror and flicked the lighter. The flame leapt, green, unnatural, and the kerosene caught. The glass itself seemed to burn, the surface softening and melting, the frame contorting, the runes popping like sparks. The mirror screamed, not metaphorically. The sound was a high-pitched, bone-rattling shriek, as if thousands of voices were being torn out at once. Faces swam across the glass, the 13 souls trapped there for over a century, their features distorted by agony and hate. Free us. Some voices begged. Keep him trapped forever. Others hissed. The fire grew. The attic became an oven and Sarah and Tom were forced back toward the hatch. Crow's form writhed in the flames, skin melting like wax. His hollow eyes locked on them with a hatred that reached beyond death. You will regret this, he rasped through the blaze. The mirror will never truly die. As long as reflections remain, I will return. He reached out with burning hands and seemed to say, You are marked. The last syllable stretched out like wind across a shattered organ pipe. Then, boom. The mirror exploded. It didn't shatter into shards. It disintegrated into powder. Glass, frame, runes, and dried blood all turned to ash in an instant. A shockwave rolled outward, snuffing the green flames. Silence fell. Ash drifted down like snow. Only a black, circular scorch remained where the mirror had stood. The air smelled of ozone, sulfur, and a sickly sweet rot like withered roses. Sarah and Tom slumped breathless. It's over, Sarah whispered. It's really over. Tom didn't answer at first. He stared at the blackened pile of ash, a strange distance in his eyes. Tom? Sarah touched his arm. Are you okay? He blinked and tried a weak smile. I'm fine. It felt unreal in there, like a nightmare. But you came back, Sarah said, squeezing his hand. We're alive. They picked themselves up and went downstairs. Tom moved like a man still learning his limbs. Sarah didn't notice the flicker of something odd in his manner. She just wanted to get away from the place. They double-checked bags, engines, and doors. The car keys were on the table. The deadbolt had unlatched itself as if a cage had sighed open. Never again, Sarah vowed, tossing her bag into the trunk. No more historic rentals for me. Tom started the engine. They pulled out onto the muddy lane and the cabin shrank in the rearview mirror, its attic window like a closed, blind eye. After 10 minutes, the fog thinned and the lights of a nearby town came into view. Sarah exhaled. We need to get those wounds checked, she said. And are you sure you're okay? What did you see in there? Tom was quiet for a long time. When he finally spoke, his voice was small and oddly steady. I saw another me. What do you mean? Sarah asked. In the mirror world, there were countless versions of me. Tom tightened his grip on the wheel until his knuckles whitened. They all looked tortured, but one looked different. He was smiling. He paused. I can't tell if I pulled you out or if he pulled you out, he admitted finally. A chill ran through Sarah. What are you saying? She demanded. Tom gave her a normal, familiar smile, the one she'd known for 10 years. Just kidding, he said lightly. Scared you? Sorry. Maybe the place messed with my head. Sarah gave a thin, strained laugh. Not funny. I know. He looked back at the road. But we're safe now, right? The mirror's burned. The curse is broken. We can go home. Right? Sarah said, but unease coiled in her stomach. They drove 20 more minutes to a small town called Pine Ridge. Population about 500. The motel's neon vacancy flickered in the mist. Let's stay here tonight, Tom suggested. We'll head back to Portland in the morning. They checked in with a gray-haired woman at the front desk, whose thick-lensed glasses made her look very old indeed. One room? She asked. Double is fine, Tom said. Normally Tom insisted on separate beds for personal space, but tonight he didn't want to be alone either, and Sarah agreed. Their room was ordinary, 2 twin beds, an old TV, and a wall mirror. Sarah's skin prickled when she saw the mirror. Tom covered it with a sheet. "That's better," he said, tucking the sheet into place. "You'll sleep easier." They washed up and put the covers over the small vanity mirror as well. Tom lay down back to Sarah. "Good night," he said. "Good night." Sarah lay in the dark, listening to his even breathing but unable to sleep. Her mind replayed shards from the day, the face in the mirror, Tom pulled in, the explosion. And the thing Tom had said in the car, "I can't remember if I pulled you out or if he pulled you out." She watched Tom in the moonlight and felt his breathing, so rhythmically steady it seemed almost deliberate. Her phone vibrated beneath her pillow. Startled, she fumbled for it. It had no signal. How was there a message? One new message appeared from an unknown sender. It contained a photo, their motel room. The photo had been taken through the mirror. Even though the sheet covered it, the mirror in the picture was uncovered. The shot showed 2 beds and Sarah scrolling on her phone. Tom sat with his back to her. But the focal point was not Sarah. It was Tom, or rather, the Tom in the mirror. In the photo mirror, Tom was not lying down. He was sitting at the edge of the bed, turned toward the mirror, staring dead at where the camera would be. He was smiling. That smile, the same wrong, stretched smile she'd seen in the attic. Beneath the image was a line of text. "Thank you for bringing me out." Sarah's phone slid from her numb fingers. She turned toward the other bed. Tom's back remained turned, motionless. "Tom?" she whispered. No response. "Tom?" she said louder. He moved, slow, mechanical, like rusted gears. Tom slowly turned his head. In the moonlight she saw his eyes, glassy, reflecting the light like mirrors themselves. "What's wrong, Sarah?" he said. The voice was Tom's, but the intonation was off. "Can't sleep?" "Are you Tom?" she asked, throat raw. He cocked his head as if considering the question. "Of course I'm Tom." He smiled, then began to rattle off facts, as if reciting someone else's resume. "I'm your best friend Tom Harris, 30, physics teacher, a skeptic. I know you've been following Diane Arbus's photography. You had a crush on your calculus professor in college. You have 30,000 followers on Instagram." He hesitated. "I know everything about Tom," he said, "because I am him." "The real Tom?" Sarah asked, voice breaking. "The real Tom?" he echoed. "Sarah, what are you on about? I'm right here. You pulled me out of the mirror, we escaped together. But I pulled Tom out." Sarah screeched. "Not you." He smiled again, a little too calmly. "How can you be sure the one you pulled out was the original Tom?" Moonlight fell across his face. It was Tom's face, but something was off, an alien stillness in the expression. "In the mirror world there are endless Toms," he said. "Tortured ones, broken ones, but there is one that is better. One that learns by watching. I studied him, his gestures, his habits, his memories. I know him better than he knows himself." "You are Elias," Sarah began. "No," he interrupted. "Elias is gone. I am a product of the mirror world, a perfect duplicate of Tom. And now I'm free." He stepped closer, hand reaching out as if to touch her cheek. "Thanks to you." Sarah hurled a pillow at him and lunged for the door, but it wouldn't open. The lock stuck from the inside, though she hadn't locked it. She backed up against the door. "Don't worry," he said, voice soft. "I won't hurt you. I need you." "Need me for what?" He smiled, and the smile was clinical. "To help me acclimate to this world. You have 30,000 followers who trust you. If you post a photo or mention a cool antique mirror, how many people will want one?" Sarah's blood chilled. "Those mirrors," she started. "All connected to the mirror world," he finished. "Every mirror is a doorway. Elias was only the first. There are thousands more inhabitants waiting to swap." He yanked the cover from the other mirror. In the glass, the room's reflection looked normal, but on the bed in the mirror, The real Tom lay still, eyes open, mouth muffled, trying to scream. He was alive. Trapped. See, Mirror Tom said. It's a fair exchange. He goes to my world and I take his place. The mirror's law is balance. Let him out. Sarah screamed. No, he said, shrugging. Unless you go in to replace him. But then who will spread the mirrors? He walked to the door and produced a key, her key, somehow in his pocket. I'll get out and learn how to live like him, he said cheerfully. If you tell anyone about this, call the police or whatever. He nodded toward the mirror. Inside, real Tom began to bleed, not red blood but a black, inky fluid from eyes, nose, and mouth. The mirror world is cruel, Mirror Tom said. If you don't help, he'll die a slow, painful death. Understand? Sarah nodded, powerless. He smiled with satisfaction, unlocked the door, and left the room. Sarah stood alone, the mirror looming. She pressed her hand to the glass. Mirror Tom pressed his hand against the inside, lips moving soundlessly. I'm sorry, his mouth formed. Sarah's tears fell. She pulled out her phone and opened the camera. The face in the screen was her reflection. The mirror Sarah was smiling. Three months later. At Forgotten Frames posted a new photo. It showed the front window display of an antique shop filled with beautiful old mirrors. The frames ornate, the glass polished to a shine. Caption: found some incredible antique mirrors. Each is over 100 years old and carries its own story. Bought 10, giving them away to 10 lucky followers. How to enter. Tell me why you want a mirror in the comments and I'll pick 10 winners. PS. Did anyone else notice anything strange in the reflections? Winking face. Within an hour the post had a 10,000 like spike. Comments poured in. I want one. My new apartment needs decor. Pick me. These are gorgeous. Wait, what is that shadow in the glass? What shadow? I don't see anything. Probably just a lighting trick. That last comment about a shadow was lost in a sea of requests. No one paid attention. Or no one wanted to notice. Sarah sat in her apartment watching the numbers climb. Her eyes looked empty. Tom, or the thing that had replaced him, stood behind her with a hand on her shoulder. Good job, he whispered. Tomorrow we ship the mirrors. 10 mirrors, 10 exchanges. Then we'll buy 100. 1,000. Sarah didn't answer. She stared at the mirror on her wall. In it, the trapped Tom pounded his palms against the glass, silent and frantic, his face unraveling into despair. Over the last 3 months she had watched him grow more desperate, then more unhinged. The mirror world was eating him slowly. Soon he would be like Elias, worn down, a creature of hunger and cunning whose only instinct was to escape and find a replacement. Don't worry, the fake Tom said close to her ear. Once we have enough, we'll create a new order. The mirror world and the real world will merge. No more sneaking around for swaps. He pressed his mouth to her ear and murmured in a low voice, then you'll be free. I promise. Sarah closed her eyes. Her phone buzzed with new comments. Around the world, people were begging for mirrors. And behind windows and in dressing rooms, in hotel halls and small-town motels, reflections opened their eyes. They were waiting. Waiting for doors to open. Waiting to walk into the sunlight.